like to do an analysis of the chords of the song Because by Dave Clark 5. It's an interesting song because it throws in a few chords that are a little bit different, and it's a little bit of an intermediate song. And I'd like to explain these chords. So the song starts out like this. What it's doing there, it's doing what's called a chromatic ascension from the fifth of the G chord. The fifth note in the G chord is a D. A G chord comprises of G, B, and D. So if it's going up one semitone at a time, and what this creates, so we start off with a G chord, then we throw in the D sharp note. That makes it a G augmented. The definition of an augmented chord is the fifth note sharpened. The next one throws in this note, that's an E note, and in G, the E note is the sixth of the scale. So that makes it a G6 chord, which is very similar to an E minor chord. And then it goes up another semitone to play an F note, and in a G chord, an F note makes it a G7. It's called a flatted seventh. It's also called a dominant seventh, but more commonly just known as a G7. Then the song goes like this. So what it's doing there, the A minor chord, and that's followed by this chord. And what's happening there is the A note is going down a semitone to a G sharp. So that chord that's created by doing that is actually called an A minor major 7. Very long name. And then you get a D and a D augmented. So as I said before, you create an augmented chord by raising the fifth. And in D, the fifth is A. So you raise that to an A sharp or a B flat, and you have a D augmented. Then the song just goes G, G augmented, C, C minor. So that C to C minor is a common chord progression that's seen in a lot of 60s love songs, and it's the 4 chord going to the 4 minor. So C is the 4 chord in the key of G, and then you just what we say flatten the third. The third in C is the E note there, so you make it an E flat and you got a C minor. Then it just ends by G, A minor, E7, G, and G7, just to introduce the bridge. Then the bridge starts with an A minor, which is kind of unusual because most bridges go to the 4 chord, but they chose to go to what's called the 2 chord here, which is in the key of G is A minor, and it's a minor chord. A minor, D, G, E minor, A minor, D, A7, D. Now you may think, why are they throwing an A7 in there? That an A7 doesn't belong in the key of G. It's not what they call a diatonic chord. But this is another kind of common thing done in songwriting. The A7 is the 5 chord of the chord that comes after a D chord. So this concept is called the subdominant, using the subdominant chord. So like I said, in the key of D, the 5 chord is A7. So it works here. And playing the A7 in that part of the song is an introduction to the D chord. Then the second verse is played, and we went over all the verse chords. The solo is done, and just a couple of interesting things that happen here. So in the second to last line in the third verse, it goes G, E minor, E7, G, and then E7. So again, that is not a diatonic chord. The E, it should be E minor in the key of G, but it's fairly common in songs that a minor chord can be exchanged with a major chord or vice versa. And again, you'll notice right after that E7, it's A minor to finish off the song. E7, G. So the E7 is the 5 chord of A minor. That's why it sounds so good. It works. Now the final thing that they do here that's kind of interesting is they end the song on a chord called a G6-9. And one place to play that is up here. So I'm playing this with the bass on the 10th fret of the A string, so that's a G. And you'll recognize this G. That's a A form bar chord to make a G there. So the chord looks like this, a G6-9. Now if you analyze every note that you're playing there, the lowest note there is the G, then the third of the G, which is B, then the next note you're playing there is an E note, and that's the 6th. Then you're playing this note, which is A note, and the A note is the 9th in the key of G. And then you're finishing off with a D note, which is the 5th. So you can see the fingering that I'm using. So that is actually, again, a fairly common chord used to end songs a lot in the 60s. It either be G6 or G6-9s. And it creates a really nice sound, final sound. Okay, song is over. Okay, so I hope that was educational. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Thank you.